Global warming. Increasing scientific evidence shows a correlation between rising CO2 or carbon dioxide emissions and rising temperatures. Carbon dioxide emissions are produced naturally as well as by a variety of everyday activities, from driving a car to heating and cooling a home.
Carbon emissions are very important to the environment, and yes, it is a global concern due to the fact that we change the climate of our planet. And we have seen that in the movie by Vice President Al Gore, Inconvenient Truth, what effect that all has, from glaciers melting, ice caps melting, changes in weather patterns. We're all going to be affected by it.
Heating and cooling a home requires more energy than any other appliance and is a major source of carbon dioxide. Heating a typical American house with natural gas can produce an average of 6,400 pounds of carbon dioxide. And in colder states, such as Minnesota, the carbon dioxide produced can reach 8,000 pounds for natural gas and close to 10,000 pounds for electric heat.
Well, carbon emission comes from different sources. The rule of thumb is about 1/3 industry, 1/3 transportation, so that's driving cars, and 1/3 are buildings. We in the US currently contribute about 20 tons per person a year. The goal, scientists tell us, is by 2050 we should stabilize at about 1 ton per person a year. So the math tells us it's 19 tons we have to kind of eliminate carbon energy.
Due to rising concerns about global warming, researchers, scientists, and architects have been working together to find a long-term solution using sustainable building techniques.
Sustainable building practices have been in place in Europe for years, particularly in Germany. It's just now being given the attention here in this country. As more and more consumers are realizing the limited natural resources we have in this country, they're also understanding the necessity of taking care of our own needs today without jeopardizing the needs of future generations. My company, Rehau, was founded in Germany. For us, sustainability also means designing and developing products for the long term that provide both economic and environmental benefits for the end user. While each of our products yields its own sustainable benefits, the integration of our systems maximizes performance while minimizing operating costs.
European countries have worked to establish new standards for building more energy-efficient homes, like the Passive House standard in Germany, established in the early 90s.
The Europeans have found out that to really manage energy in buildings, you have to set standards and then work according to those standards. The most rigid energy standard in Europe is the German Passive House standard. In Switzerland, it's called Minergie P standard. They're all similar, and they basically limit your energy use in a building just as you would limit the budget of a building.
Without the requirements of a broader green building standard being in place in the U.S., individual builders and architects have taken the initiative to design more energy-efficient buildings and homes, including the few applying the Passive House standard. One such structure, known as the Bio House, was recently constructed in Bemidji, Minnesota. With the highest blower door test rating, the Bio House is 85% more efficient than required by the building codes for the state of Minnesota, earning it the distinction of being one of the most energy-efficient buildings ever built in the nation. One way to better illustrate the magnitude of what that means is to translate the energy consumption of buildings into miles per gallon. Think of the Bio House representing a car with a gas mileage of roughly 150 miles to a gallon of fuel.
Energy efficiency all starts with the building envelope, the walls, the openings, and the roof system. Some of the walls at the Das Bio House were constructed with the Amvic insulated concrete forms produced with expanded polystyrene supplied by BASF. Insulated concrete forms provide some 2 to 3 times additional insulation compared to standard stick wall frames. Also, some of the windows on Das Bio House were installed with Rehau's 4600 tilt-turn system designed in Germany. These windows provide very high insulating values. After the building envelope, it's important to have energy-efficient systems like geothermal integrated with radiant heating. Also to employ renewable energies like ground air heat exchange to supply preheated and pre-cooled air to buildings, and also solar thermal for hot water. With all of the energy efficiency, it's still possible to have an aesthetically pleasing building.
Because of their sustainability, practical, energy-efficient buildings, such as the Bio House, are poised to be the future of architecture.
Buildings are very resource intensive. So as an architect, yes, I'm interested in aesthetics, in function, in budget, but I'm as well interested in resource use. And one of the key resources, as we've been talking, is energy. But it's not only energy, it's other resources as well. Water, steel, wood, you name it. Where does it come from? How is it used? So what do we pick? Do we pick exotic woods out of the Amazon, or do we pick local products out of our own woods? Choices we can make.
The beauty is the Das Bio House project was constructed with commercially available materials. This isn't space-age technology. These materials are available now. While the German passive house standard may not be well known in this country, the benefits of the Das Bio House is educating of our youth on the values of these systems, both for the environment and for all of us that live here.
I think just the responsibility of commercial businesses and institutions to get to that standard is something, a goal that I see, and I think builders and architects, engineers around the country should really go to.
Preserving the environment for future generations starts with educating tomorrow's leaders today. That's why the Bio House, one of the most energy-efficient buildings in America, was constructed on the Language Village campus of Concordia College, where children between the ages of 7 and 18 are invited to participate in language and cultural immersion programs designed to teach responsible citizenship in a global community.
The mission of Concordia College, of which Concordia Language Villages is part, is to influence the affairs of the world by sending forth educated men and women. And the mission of the Language Villages follows that very directly by focusing on global citizenship. And we define global citizenship as someone who can communicate in more than one language and communicate with a sensitivity to cultural differences. Further, a global citizen is someone who promotes a sense of justice, peace, and sustainability, and that's what we will tie into the Bio House, of course, with environmental sustainability.
The programs focus on immersion into 15 world languages, allowing participants the unique experience of learning, for example, German in a facility designed by a Swiss architect and German engineers to meet the German passive house standard. In the Bio House, part of the Waldsee German language village experience, children are not only exposed to a new language, they are also able to experience a distinct aspect of German culture while simultaneously learning the importance of respecting the environment.
At Concordia Language Villages, we talk about cultural immersion as well as language immersion. And immersion means that you're surrounded by whatever you're trying to be immersed in, be it the language at the language villages, the culture through the facilities, the food that people eat, and the native speaking staff. The Bio House is a best example probably at the Language Villages of how we combine the cultural or integrate the cultural immersion component. The German culture is very strongly tied to the environmental issues and is a leading country as well as Austria in the sustainable building industry. And so bringing that to the villages is optimal, and also allows us to really then teach the language in a disciplinary way by integrating sciences or a focus on the sciences and environmental studies, and that's part of our immersion concept.
It's a perfect learning environment for kids because they come here and they're able to touch things. It's hands-on, so it has all these aspects that are absolutely crucial for learning, and that takes place in another language and has the cultural frame which the building represents by itself, by being authentic materials and authentic from Germany.
The entire day was totally amazing. You go to a language camp and you're basically thrown into an entire, how do I say it, just an experience where you just given a new language and you have to speak it, and it was really fun. It just really opened my eyes to everything that's available to us and all the different ways that we can do to help save what we got and all the different alternative sources out there.
Concordia Language Villages believes that teaching children to understand and appreciate the global community around them and inspiring in them hope for the future is the first step toward building a foundation for a world of peace. The tool for teaching such an understanding is teaching world languages. Only by being able to communicate in another language can we learn to understand another culture and become a citizen of the world. To learn more about Concordia Language Villages, visit concordialanguagevillages.org.